John Wick Chapter 4 stars Keanu Reeves and other really awesome members of the cast, and is the fourth installment of the franchise, and stars leading man Keanu Reeves as John Wick himself. The story at hand here is John Wick is trying to escape the grasp of the High Table, and once and for all earn his freedom so that he can leave this life and stop laying so many bodies behind him in the process. Because the guy, he's tired, he just wants peace. He has wanted peace since the very first movie of this franchise that came out about a decade ago. I'll give you my overall verdict on this movie. John Wick Chapter 4 is going to be recognized as an achievement in action filmmaking for years to come. It's really ambitious in scope, scale, and has some of the greatest action set pieces I think that I've ever seen for a variety of reasons, which I'll touch upon soon. My only pitfall with this movie is, honestly, I think the story left a little bit to be desired, but really it doesn't matter because of the fact that the action set pieces are just so overpowering and so spectacular that you'll pretty much forget about everything else while you're in the midst of these, because they're excellent. And I suppose that's a logical starting point. Let me start off with the action set pieces of this movie. There are three main really big ones that I can recall off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are several others that I'm forgetting about. Each one of these action set pieces is, at least, I'm not kidding, 10 minutes long or more. And although some of them can feel a little bit long-winded at times, there's no denying that they're an achievement in cinema. Each scene has a way of one-upping itself. It has a way of one-upping the entire action genre, and it just keeps raising the stakes with each passing moment. Just when you think they can't get more creative, Chad Stahelski, the director of this film, finds a way to keep you on your toes and have you wondering, how exactly did they pull this off? If you told me that at the end of 2024, or I should say 2023, that John Wick Chapter 4 would win an Oscar for something, even if it's just cinematography, I wouldn't be shocked. Whatever they paid the stuntmen for this film, they didn't pay them enough, because they really go through it in this movie, and it really makes for this awesome achievement. And the best part is, each of these scenes has a way of being creative in their own right. Not one set piece feels quite the same as the previous one that came before it. Whether it be it's a change in the environment, a change in the enemy, a change in the acting, a change in the weaponry, this movie always finds a way to sprinkle in just a little bit of variety into what's going on. In some scenes, you're going to see John Wick taking down baddies on a horse. You'll see him taking down baddies in a car using his bare hands, nunchucks even at one point, which was a nice touch. I mean, seriously, I could probably go on and do a full in-depth review that lasts about an hour just about how great these action set pieces are, but alas, this video isn't there to serve that purpose quite. And these action set pieces wouldn't be what they are without an excellent cast to carry the movie, because this movie does exactly that. And what I mean explicitly by that is the movie does well to showcase the cast's talent, because it is oozing in this film, whether it be in franchise newcomers like Donnie Yen or Bill Skarsgård, or seasoned vets like Ian McShane or Keanu Reeves. The movie gives each of these actors sufficient opportunity to really elevate the stakes of the film of what's going on, and also add in their unique spin on these characters to make them individuals in this world where we're exposed to all of these different assassins that seem like they're a dime by the dozen. The John Wick franchise has always done a great job of building its lore. I think with each of these characters, it continues to build that lore, and it really leaves a rich environment for other movies or even TV shows to take place based on this universe, for lack of a better term, although that does feel a little bit tired. And I'm going to mainly talk about Keanu Reeves here with John Wick Chapter 4. If this doesn't cement him as one of the greatest action stars of all time, if not the greatest action film star of all time, I really don't know what will. He has proven time and time again through multiple franchises that he can have a cultural impact and make a lot of these stunts just look so easy and like he is just in command at all times. It's honestly amazing, and it never gets old to watch. Of course, the other franchise that comes to mind in this vein is the Matrix franchise, which he kills it in that, and he does the same here in John Wick. And he really, by this fourth film in the franchise, leans into his John Wick-isms, for lack of a better term. He has now fully become this character to the point where I don't know if he's actually acting or just being himself. Based on interviews I've seen, he is a very gentle person, so I think him acting in this movie is acting, but it just feels so natural that you actually buy into the fact that he is this world-class assassin that is, well, undefeated. But even from an action-oriented perspective, he does carry this movie, but even in a more dramatic sense, I think he can still make his presence feel vibrant. And honestly, you could say that between his performance and a lot of the other characters in this film, mainly in the form of Donnie Yen. I think the relationship that he has with this person begs the most interesting and thought-provoking questions of the entire movie. These guys are just put into an impossible situation by the high table, and it really makes you question different things in that regard. I don't want to give too much detail to avoid spoilers. You've just got so many conflicting missions in this movie, and they all clash to form this really excellent spectacle that we're seeing before you. And it does so in a way that doesn't really make the experience feel bloated, but it also does so in a way that makes everything feel really exciting and balanced. And it honestly justifies the 2-hour 49-minute runtime. If that runtime is keeping you from seeing this movie, don't let it, because the 2 hours 49 minutes honestly feels like an hour 45, 2 hours at the most, because you're just having so much fun and you're going to be oozing with excitement in watching the spectacle of a movie. Now, apart from the technical stunt and acting perspective, John Wick 4 has a story that's nothing to sneeze at, although I will say it's probably the weakest part of the film, but almost doesn't even matter. You're going to be too busy being occupied with the amazing action that's taking place that the story doesn't really matter a whole lot, but nonetheless, let me talk about it for a second. I really appreciate the movie's ability to not be afraid to take risks early and often. The main way it does this is by recycling or introducing you to new or old characters throughout the experience. With this being the fourth movie of the franchise, if you are a franchise faithful and you've seen all the John Wick movies, you might be a little conflicted about some of the choices that they make early on. Reason being is because you've formed an attachment to these said characters, and with the later installments like a fourth in this franchise, you might feel a little odd about having to get to know new characters, but don't let that stop you, because they're all excellent in this movie and they all have their purpose for one different reason or another. And some of the story choices that they make, they might surprise you and actually keep you really engaged and really set the tone for the rest of the film. But if you are a franchise newcomer and you haven't seen the previous John Wick films, don't let that stop you from seeing this one, because I think the story does well enough to get you newcomers into this experience without having to do any required reading beyond a certain point. Are you going to feel maybe a little bit lost, or like you're missing out on some really tough moments because of missing out on the previous movies? Maybe at least a little bit, but you're still going to be able to comprehend and enjoy the experience for what it is. And most importantly, with the action set pieces and a lot of this achievement being had in this movie, the story doesn't feel like it's there to just be a blatant excuse for this movie to occur to just show off action. It feels like the story and action have a nice balance between the two of them in order to make it a really cohesive experience. It's not action for action's sake. There is a purpose behind it for the most part, although some of it can feel a little gratuitous at sometimes. The one thing that made me chuckle on the gratuitous action side of this was Keanu Reeves at the end of one of these very long action set pieces goes, like he's taking a breath. He's trying to catch his breath because the action set piece felt so long, and I thought that was really clever by the director to add that line into this movie, because you can feel like that by the time some of these set pieces are over with. I'll leave you with this. John Wick Chapter 4 boldly goes where no action film has dared to go before, in spectacle, in scale, in scope, and otherwise. This installment cements Keanu Reeves as one of the greatest action stars of all time, if not the greatest action star of all time, while at the same time being unrelentingly creative and unafraid to take risks. Both franchise veterans and newcomers have a way of creating this really awesome experience by working together in tandem to really make this really fun and make this really enjoyable for a general audience, whether or not you've seen the previous installments or not. And needless to say, if you are in that camp and you haven't seen the previous John Wick movies, I envy you, and I highly recommend that you go and watch them like right now. Because if you haven't seen John Wick 4 yet, I suspect that you will watch it and you will be very shortly flocking to the other three remaining films to see what they're all about. Friends, in the end, I'm gonna have to give John Wick Chapter 4 an 8 out of 10. I think this is a awesome experience, and I think it's one of the best movies of 2023 so far. Friends, thank you so much for watching another movie review. If you like this or thought it was helpful, I'd be honored if you consider clicking the like button, clicking these end cards up above, or the links down in the description below for your viewing pleasure. Once again, I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day.